We're the Brights coming to you live from our studio kitchen.
Welcome to our kitchen.
It's Sunday night.
But it's getting so close to...
I did something really good this week. I went to in person because I've been communicating with the lady with the sign for our studio.
Almost done.
Well, I've been communicating with her email, and I'm not very good at communicating email. I need to go in person, so I went in person and talked to her at the laser cut company here in Houston, and they have given me some even better ideas. So they're shooting over some proofs this week. So hopefully, the next week or so, we'll have our sign up. So I'm really excited. And I just realized we didn't take our little dog Chica's bell off. So if y'all hear a little bell or a little shaking, then we forgot to take it off. Man, she's usually sitting in her little bed right here, but she decided to walk away.
Vamoose. Man, we just got back from the Love Wins conference, and it was fantastic. Dr. Juan and Ruthie Martinez with Get Rap Church out of Tomball, Texas.
Humble.
What did I say?
Humble, Texas.
What did I say?
Tomball,
Texas.
Humble.
Close to Tomball.
Right.
Yeah, we do.
It is
but
close,
it's close. But man, they did a fantastic job. It was so elegant. It was a Friday and Saturday conference. And one thing that I realized with marriage conferences, I remember at the very beginning, I didn't want to go, but we kept going, and next thing you know, we're teaching classes, or volunteering, then we're teaching, and then we're part of the conference, and it's so, now looking back 16 years later, I'm so thankful for my wife taking the lead in so many things, and there's something that we're going to talk about tonight, because that was one of the questions, should women take the lead in the house, you know? I just saw you going.
I know so that's a touchy thing in the Christian world.
We heard some great answers, and it was fantastic. But anyways, we left so on fire. Like, man, I wish everybody could go to a conference, because the information that we get gives people so much hope. You know.
And one thing we always talk about in our videos is to become an expert in marriage, and it's so important to go to marriage conferences, to go to read books, to go to marriage classes. And I know sometimes marriage conferences can be expensive, but this one was super affordable. And we have one coming up this Sunday. It's actually, if you're watching this video later, well, you missed it, but it's August 2019 right now. And this weekend coming up, the 23rd and 24th of August, is another marriage conference that we're part of called Spark. And it's at Lakewood Church in Houston,
Scott,
Texas.
What's going on, my brother?
It's going to be a big deal. Hey, Scott.
He'll be there
and
with his amazing wife, Leah.
So it's going to be a great conference, but we just really encourage you to invest in your marriage. It's way cheaper than a divorce to go to marriage conferences and to buy books and to go to... I'm always telling him to sit up, because then I always look like I'm 9 feet tall. So you don't have to be that tall, because then you'll be like taller than the thing. So
all right.
Okay. I just don't want to be like...
I think we're good.
I'm going to put one of those posture boards on the back of you. And so we... the conference was really great, but we were just talking about how thankful we are that we started 14 years ago, right? 14 years ago, going to marriage stuff, going to marriage conferences and classes and reading stuff. Because now when we go to a marriage conference, it's not like everything's brand new and we're just overwhelmed with everything. It's like, we get a shot in the arm. It's like something we forgot we haven't learned in a while. And sometimes we'll hear something new, but it revitalizes us too as a married couple. But we're just so glad we started when we started. So we're not... if you're in a marriage right now, start now, because the time's going to go by quick. And one day you're going to wake up and you're like, you know what? We know some stuff. We're not just a chapter ahead, one chapter ahead of everybody. Like, we're actually, you'll start getting some knowledge about marriage, and it does get better.
And we started to see people that have been in bad places in their marriage that are in really good seasons now. And then we see some people that are just getting started, that they're in bad places right now. And then we see some people that are about halfway through. So you see the whole and trying to make their marriage, improve their marriage, and people that used to be there with a good marriage now. But man, everybody that we saw, one thing that they had in common is none of them quit. They're all still working, because it's an everyday thing. It's something with marriage. It's not like it's good for a week or two. One of the pastors, Pastor Dave and Dana Vestal, man, he just said something that was so awesome. He says, man, no matter how good you think your marriage is, it's under attack every single minute, every single hour of every single day, because Satan hates marriage. So he's trying anything he can to get you guys to coast, so that he can come in and destroy your marriage, get you guys separated. And I just thought that was so good.
Yeah, because we've done that. We've thought, man, we got this. We're in a good season, like we're rocking and rolling, and then something just comes out of left field that we weren't prepared for. So we've learned over the years that we have to be on guard all the time. The enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy, and he's stealth. He's coming in, and he knows your weaknesses, and he's coming in where you don't think you realize it, and he'll slip in.
The one good thing is he's not a creator. Only God is a creator.
Yeah.
Satan's a repeater, so he repeats the same things
old thing.
over and over and over. So guys, when we address those things and we say, hey, let's bring this stuff to the surface. Met with a couple today who's bringing stuff to the surface, but guess what? They're talking about it, they're working through it, they're praying through it, and they're improving their marriage. And we all have to go through that, because that's how we get to the marriage that we want to have, not just by coasting and just hoping that it turns out. Marriage is the hardest thing that we're ever going to do. And then raising kids is the second hardest thing, all right?
Yeah, and when you start going to the marriage conference and you do all this stuff and you get all these notes and you take everything, the next step is you got to actually do something with it. You can't just get the knowledge and then take it home and put it in a book and put it, well, I did this, check it off your list.
Then
we did it for years.
It becomes information.
It becomes information.
But if you use it, it becomes wisdom.
Yeah, it becomes, that's right. If it's knowledge, then it becomes wisdom. And we didn't do it for a long, long time. So we're not like telling you all how perfect we are. We're like, we didn't do it for a long time. We were teaching classes. We talk about this all the time. We were actually teaching people how to do stuff because we were reading about it and learning about it, teaching other people. Their marriages were getting better and ours was sucking because we were not actually doing the work, because we thought, we're teachers, we got this. And we actually had to dig deep and start doing it ourselves.
And Pastor Vinny and his wife Sarah, who spoke for the very first time, she crushed it. They both did an amazing job. But one of the things that he said was, once they look back now, all the valuable time that they wasted not being in agreement on things, not being able to talk about things, not dealing with stuff, that they wish they had that time back. And Sherry and I talked about that probably 2 weeks ago in one of our prayer sessions. Like, man, we wasted 6 to 8 years fighting and bickering the whole time, and we could just put that behind us. But
God still worked it out, and He'll make your latter days better than your former days. And some of us are just more hard-headed and have a lot more pride.
You want to cover some of the stuff?
So we just had a few. So Richard and I did comedy. Did the comedy night on Friday. There was a prom and a dance after. It was great. And then Saturday we did some breakout sessions. And what else did we do Saturday? We had breakout sessions, and then we had David spoke and Dana spoke, and then
Pastor Todd and his wife Tanya.
Different people spoke, and then we had a panel with all the people, the guest speakers, and it was the highlight of the whole weekend. I mean, it was so great because it was so raw and so real, and we took random questions. People had written questions down ahead of time, and we just pulled them out of the hat, not knowing what, and some of them were looking at each other like, you want to answer that? I don't know. But you know what? Once we got past the initial shock of some of it, we and we're not going to really talk about some of those super, super deep ones on this one, because some of them are kind of too intimate to talk about on this, and we don't want to be that raw about it. But we're going to talk about some of the questions that came up that really resonated with us, and that people had a lot to say about.
That's right.
And so one of the questions, and this is not in any kind of order, but one of the questions was, which I really love because nobody ever talks about it. They talk about it, but they talk about it on the opposite end. And it was, should Christian wives lead? Should we be leading? And so I
thought that was a really great question, because in this day and time, there are so many single moms raising children, and they're having to take the lead. They're having to be everything: the mom, the dad, the disciplinarian, the nurse, the nurturer, the study partner. They're wearing every single hat. And there's also just some very strong women. Okay, and Sherry happens to be a type A driven, strong individual. She's a very strong woman. And we didn't realize this when we first got married and we started going to the classes. And Sherry was in charge of this, in charge of that, and in our household. And so when I was hearing that the man is supposed to be the head and supposed to lead, I was thinking, man, Sherry does all that, And I remember trying to step into those roles, and it wasn't really easy for her. But man, she was very good at certain things that I was just not good at.
And so to kind of back up a little bit, so it was, should women lead? And so we were going to church. So at first I was like, yeah, we should lead. I'm a leader. I'm going to do things. I'm women hear me roar, and I would tell Richard, this is my third marriage. So you watch and see what I'm in charge this time. And then we started going to church, and then they started talking the roles of the woman and the roles of the man. And I thought, oh my gosh, and women are supposed to be submissive, and I didn't know what submissive meant. I thought,
like
I am not walking.
That was a good class that day.
I'm like, I am not walking behind this man. He is not going to tell me what to do. I am not going to be pushed down. I have been squelched most of my life, and so blah, blah, blah. I didn't understand what submission meant. I didn't know that it was actually a sign of strength. And so it wasn't submission in that way. It was submission in the way of spiritual.
Right. It's not like she's walking 3 feet behind me and I'm making every single decision in the house. Actually, she said, you make the big decisions, and I'll make the small decisions. And to this day, I've been blessed. I haven't had any big decisions, so it's worked out.
And so they were talking about that. Should women lead? So some people in the church say women shouldn't pastor. They shouldn't lead things. They shouldn't, they've got a certain place. And I loved how, the way we believe is that God has anointed us all to do different things. And women, there are strong women. And women are anointed to preach and teach and to lead just like men are. But in marriage, the Bible talks that the man is the head. He is the lead of the house. But that's in the spiritual realm, that he's supposed to lead us. It doesn't mean he's going to tell us all what to do, and he's the ogre, the monarch. Yeah, that he's going to be the
patriarch,
the one that's telling everybody and bossing everybody around. And so and the other women on the panel, there were several really strong women, and they talked about, and the husbands are actually the ones who did a lot of the talking about how they loved the way their wives took charge on things. And they're like, well, if your wife's the one that goes out and can buy a car and she makes all the research and she makes a good decision, let her go for it. I loved all that, because sometimes we hear, it can only be the man making the decision. And they were saying that there's sometimes that they're not always together making, they have a mutual decisions, but they're not sitting there having to go ask permission to each other about everything. They talked about, they trust each other about certain decisions that they make. And so I really liked that, because Richard was talking about how I, in certain areas, he likes that I lead in that area, because that's where my strength is, and that's where his strength is. And he might go out and solve some stuff and make stuff and do physical labor and do all that, and that's where he's got strength. But yet I can come in and do the agreements, and I can talk to people, I can negotiate, I can do all that, and I'm strong in that area. But he's not insecure, or what's another word? I'm
not weak in that area. It's just not my expertise. That's not my strength. That's not what I do. I've got a lot of ideas. I have a lot of plans. I have a lot of dreams. And so I talk to her, and she goes, you know what? We come together and we talk about it, and the two will put to flight 10,000. So together, all of a sudden she says, you know what? Why don't we do it this way? And I go, and then we add this. And she goes, and then do this. And I go, and then that. Let's do it. And together, man, we come up with an amazing plan. Instead of me just coming up, I'm going to do this, and then get out there and try to do it all on my own. It just does not work.
Well, and he's not insecure in those areas. He's not intimidated by a strong woman. So that's a big thing, too. So it's knowing, as a man, knowing who you are in Christ, knowing that just because your woman is strong in certain areas doesn't demasculate. And I think it depends on how we go about it as women. I mean, if we're trying to lord over them and be the sergeant and all that, then that's not the way to go about it either. We don't want to be the naggy drill sergeant wife, but we just want to be strong and lead in a way that's strong. And there's something I wrote down, because
you want to lead in a way. And so here's another thing. Okay, when Sherry was taking the lead on so many things, because there was a time when I wasn't the leader of the house. I mean, there was a time I told Sherry I didn't know how to be a father, I didn't know how to be a husband, I didn't know how to be a man, because I had learned so many of the wrong things that the world, we heard it today, was such a great message, that if you do not know who you are, then the world will tell you who you are. They'll make a plan for you, and you will be something that, man, you weren't even designed or called to be. If you don't know your vision, the world will give you a vision, and you will step into something that you were never created to do. Mm-hmm. And so that was me. I was doing something that I was never created to do. But when I was watching Sherry, and she was on her knees and she's praying and she's loving my children at the time, or hers now because we're married, and she's loving them and nurturing them, and I'm seeing her love my children sometimes even more than I felt that I was even loving my kids. And she was taking care of the house, and she was making sure that even though things were chaotic and torn apart she was doing the best that she could to hold things together. And so when I would see that and she would make a decision, I would honor that decision, because I knew that she wasn't trying to manipulate something. She wasn't trying to rat hole some money so that she can go buy a dress, or to, manipulate me in any way. She was literally trying to listen to God and do something that was going to benefit me and help our family get back on the right track.
And then we talk about now too, when we look back, is that he makes it sound so angelical, but I was like, look, if you're not going to lead this family, somebody's going to lead this family. And so I'm stepping up. If you're not going to do your role as a man, I handled it completely wrong about how I went about it. So, and not only was I trying to lead the family and tell everybody what I was going to do, I didn't have a relationship with the kids the way I should have, because I was ruling from, not from a relationship, I was just ruling from being a ruler, So then there was a lot of rebellion, because I wasn't ruling from relationship. And so then Richard became the good guy. He became the nurturer because he's like trying to keep the peace, because here I'm this strong woman, and he's trying to soften it, you know. But also the guys were talking about, what I really loved them talking about was how they wouldn't be where they were now.
I agree. I wouldn't be where I am right now if it wasn't for my wife. You know, her practicality in leading was amazing, you know, and now she let me, it was a hard transition. I'm just going to tell you that's the truth, because me being the head, I'm supposed to be going to God. I'm supposed to be fighting for my family and praying for my family and praying for my wife. You know, I heard in one of our classes, one of the men's classes that I used to attend, that, man, if your family is in disarray, it's your fault. If your family's happy, it's your fault. If there's something right, it's your fault. If there's something wrong, it's your fault. Because you're supposed to be interceding with God, the peacemaker, and hearing from God, going, you know what? Let me go and approach my children. Let me go help my wife understand this. Let me be her emotional backboard, sounding board, so she can talk to me. And when I wasn't doing that, well, then guess what? If I'm the next direct person in line from God to the head, and I'm out of line like this, well, guess who's in line? My wife. So, man, God speaks to her. And then she tries to pull me back in. You know, go ahead, pull me back in. So she tries to pull me back into the picture, right? And this is where our breakdown is. This is where we fight. This is where we argue. This is where the chaos happens, trying to get each other back in. But, man, when we don't give up and we continue to press in, and we know that we're on the same team, we can work through these things.
Well, and when Richard when he stepped in and started being the spiritual leader of the family, then I got to, it was like my overdrive kicked in, and I was like, okay, that part's taken care of. Now I can do the part that I'm good at, which is paying the bills, talking to the customers, doing this stuff. I was doing all the behind the scenes stuff, but I knew I could rock that. But I was very resentful when I was trying to rock that and trying to do his job and my role. And women are usually the ones that bring men to church. I mean, that's just what we see across the board. That's just, I think, typically that's the way it happens. But once you men get in church and you start getting in the Word and you start knowing what your role is, then you realize that you've got to step into that. You can't just go on to what your wife's doing. But I just loved how the guys were all saying that they wouldn't be, because the men had vision, but the wives saw, like the men saw like a vision. They saw long term, but they didn't know how they were going to get there. They just dreamed big. But the women were like, okay, I'm going to show you. Let's do this. Like, I'm going to see. I saw the stuff coming.
I'm going to use my discernment.
Yep, discernment.
And we just don't have it.
That peripheral vision. Like, I saw things coming from the side that he didn't see, because all he was straight forward ahead. And I was like, wait. Like, we got to do this. So having it. It is okay for women to lead, for us to do our part, as long as we're both doing the roles spiritually that we're supposed to do. Then practical, then that's what you have to work out. Everybody's different. Some of it, the guy does stuff better, the woman does. That's stuff that you have to be able to communicate.
Believe me, if Sherry was better mowing the lawn, I would let her do it.
Never going to happen. Well, what was another question they had? So I just love that question a lot.
That was a good question.
And so one of the ones was, let's see, top of my head. How often should a married couple have sex?
Every day.
Question.
That's what
David said.
No,
right?
And then somebody said, "Well, Pastor Todd goes, what was that? Women need 7 what? And non-sexual touches a day." And he goes, "I need 2 sexual touches."
Well, because part of the comedy Richard and I do is we talk about that, and so we're doing comedy, but we're also kind of giving some little tips. And so I always say women need 7 non-sexual touches a day, guys. Like, that's a tip. And so we kind of show like how you rub the shoulders and then you walk away, you don't touch anything else, and everybody laughs, and the women are like, yes, and they're all clapping like, yes, please. Don't touch anything else. Like, just touch me to touch me, and don't let it mean something every single time. But then he was so funny because he was telling about it.
How many
times? And I said 7.
We just walked right at 7. Yeah, she was like 7. And he goes, "Well, I need 2 sexual touches.
I need 2 sexual touches a day, and I need somebody to call me daddy." And so I thought about that, but that he had a really good point. So I told Richard we need to add that to when we're telling our tips and stuff like that. That not to just put it on the guys like, "Hey guys, just do it, don't touch anything." But hey ladies, sometimes your man needs some romantic sexual touches, and he needs you to tell him how big and strong he is, and to talk to him.
Sometimes I need you to call me daddy.
That's right,
Big Papa. Right. And I'll tell you one thing: when she says Big Papa, all my everything just goes. It was like, huh? And man, I am focused on her. I mean, she's got my undivided attention. You don't think so? Try it with your man.
Okay, so this was the thing, was how many times should a married couple have sex? and it was very divided. It got kind of a little bit heated, like between the people talking, because everybody had a different opinion of what that looks like. So we talked about it later. Like, it really depends on the different seasons that you're in your life, because some, we're empty nesters. There's people that have young little kids and they're really stressed out with school, with babies, and some have school.
Kids just got married,
so it's just
they haven't even left the bedroom yet.
They're just, it's constant, and they're going, once a day, that's not even enough, so different people, different, and plus personalities are different. People have different sex drives, and as we age, there's different things that happen. Women go through different hormonal things, whether it's from having a baby or menopause or different things that happen. So we have to have grace with each other, and we have to communicate in those areas. And so one of the ladies was saying that there shouldn't be a number, there shouldn't be a bar. It should just be natural, and you guys should just be able to be attracted. You should be attracted if you're in a healthy relationship, and it should just be on whenever it's on.
And that probably works.
And if that works for them, that is awesome. And we've been in that season. I can remember going to conferences and people talking, and I was like, oh, you better put on your back, put on your fire girl outfit, and woohoo all the time. But then different seasons happen, and different seasons happen with kids. And so for us, we learned from Jimmy Evans from Marriage Today, one of the things that really helped us when we were in a tough season about having sex, and it was because I felt like there was a lot of resentment on Richard's part, and I never told him no, but there were times that I wasn't as into it as he was, or he wanted me to be. So then the resentment set in, and then I was like, well, because you're not doing this and this as a man, or I'm not getting my emotional needs met, and then here we go in that crazy cycle. So one of the things we learned from Jimmy Evans was to have a vision in every area of your marriage. And so whether it's finances, discipline, sex, talk about it.
Because he said, if you do not have a vision in any area of your marriage, you have division. And you will always fight in that area until y'all have a vision. Yeah. Until y'all both can agree that somebody might say, once a day, and somebody might say once a week, and then they say, what about twice a week? Yeah. I'm good with that. Yeah. Guess what? We've got unity. We've got a vision now.
And he said that the average couple, and again, you might be a couple that y'all it's on like Donkey Kong with y'all all the time. More power to you. There might be some of y'all that it's, we've met couples that have a sexless marriage. We have met couples that have sex very, seldom. But he said the average typical couple has sex 2.5 times a week. And so we're trying like 2.5. We're like, that half's a little tricky. So you got to be a little creative, But you know what? Come up with a number that works for you guys. And it's not like, okay, well, we did it 1 time, 2 times, 3. Like we're at our quota. Some weeks it might be 3 times. Some weeks it might be once. But just know that you want to kind of gauge it, whatever that number is that you mutually agree on, that, that kind of keeps you in check.
God created it because it's part of sex. It's not everything. It's part of sex. It's part of marriage. But it's just a slice of marriage. It's not like a half of the pie that, this is marriage and sex is half of it. It's just a sliver of the pie of marriage, And
I think we have to, make sure we have grace with each other. And people have sometimes childhood things that they haven't dealt with that cause problems with that. This is the time to deal with our stuff so we can get past it, because sex is a normal part of marriage. It's an awesome part of marriage, and we want to have grace with each other. We want to have not to compare ourselves with other couples. When you hear other couples, don't compare yourself to other couples. You don't know what other things in their life, that area might be great, and other things that they're horrible, stuck in that area. So don't compare yourself to other couples. Do what's good for you. Communication is key in every area. So another question was, is it okay for Christians to drink wine? And one of the guys said, what did he say? Wait, he goes, what was the question? Was it okay, or was it?
He goes, hope so.
Oh, he said, should Christians drink wine? And he said, hope so. And that's another thing. Here we go. It's.
I'm like, hey, Jesus turned water into wine. I want to party with that dude.
So some churches, it's very taboo about drinking. Some people have actually a religion. They go to a certain religion, so they have certain things that are taboo. Some churches, it's just part of their makeup of how they do things. It's totally okay. We go to a non-denominational church, and it's pretty divided, I think, at our church of what people think about drinking. Some people come from different backgrounds, so they're just really against it, and some are fine with it, and some people don't really have an opinion. We again think it's one of those things about communication. it doesn't say anything in the Bible that you can't drink wine. It does say for you not to get drunk, which I think is a really wise decision, because when you get drunk, it just causes problems. It causes problem with each other. It causes problem if you're out with other couples. It causes problem with you get that liquid courage, and a lot of things can happen. Things can get said. Sometimes it's a fun, I guess, for couples to have that. We used to, when Richard and I first met, we drank a lot and we partied a lot, and so we started going to church, and we became leaders at the church, and we said, okay, so we're not gonna drink at all. And so we stopped drinking. Well, then we were like, oh, that's kind of not fun. So then we said, well, we're going to only drink on vacation, or we're only going to drink on our date night. But some of y'all have heard us say this, and we say it in jest, but it's actually the truth, is that I could have a glass of wine, 1 or 2 glasses of wine. Richard wants 1 or 7. And so it became an issue for us. It's an issue for him. Like he knows that he knows where we're going.
That's right.
And God has a real big plan on our life, and we have big goals, and we just can't take that with us. Like, it's just not something for us that works for where we're going and what we're doing. But if what you do at home is your business, I think if you're a leader in the church, you should be really mindful about how much you're drinking if you're out, who you're drinking with, what you're portraying, because people are watching all the time. And if people think that if you're Christian and you can act exactly like the rest of the world, and you're out there,
why should I be Christian?
Yeah. Or if you're out partying at a club and you're getting
you're dropping it like it's hot.
You're out there doing the doing the twerk, and you're showing your drinks and all that.
Is that pastor's wife?
Just stop, okay. But I think it's a gray area, and I think it's, again, if it causes a problem in your marriage, then that's something that maybe y'all shouldn't be doing, because it's easy to get divorced over that, because we almost did. What was another one? Another question was, okay, so this is the last one because time-wise, is how long should, so the person that had, it was a little kind of a longer question, but they were talking about being in a bad marriage where, and we don't know all the details, so we were just assuming, we don't know if it was infidelity or drug abuse or what it was, but it was how long should I stay in a bad marriage? And so that was just like nobody what, because it was just, it's hard to answer that question when you don't have a lot of details. And so if it's infidelity, we were saying that, nobody on that panel would have said that you have to stay, because the Bible is very clear that if there's infidelity, that gives you actually a reason to get divorced. And so if you wanted to move on because of infidelity, you can. But some people still want to fight for their marriage. We've been through a whole lot of stuff, and we chose to fight for our marriage. There was times that I thought, I cannot take it anymore. I don't want to do this. I'm ready to quit. But when Richard and I talk about if we had quit all the times that we wanted to quit,
oh my gosh,
we would not be where we are. We would not have seen the glory of God. We would not see what God has for us right now. We would not be talking to you right now. And we know now.
We would not be healed. We would have not have overcome. We would not have seen the glory and the grace of God on our life. We just wouldn't have seen it. We would have taken all that brokenness to the next relationship, to the next, to the next, to the next. Mm-hmm. So by doing some major changes in our life and doing things that were not natural to us, doing things the way God wanted us to do it, it made such a huge difference that we were able to stay married, that we were able to have grace and mercy and forgiveness, and love started to blossom again when there was no trust, zero. It was probably negative trust for her with me to get built back up again. I mean, that's only God,
And so it's like, how long should you stay? And I think that's something that you've got to ask. You got to take it to your knees. You need to ask the Lord about that. You need to, T.D. Jakes always says, if you're going to work yourself into a marriage and you want to get, something happens and you want to get out, is you work yourself out of that marriage.
Do everything you can to save your marriage.
That doesn't mean you just go, well, that's it, next one, which is what I can't really say that happened for me. I was married a long time, both times before, but I didn't do the work that it took to work myself out of that marriage.
Marriage is going to be the hardest thing you ever do, guys. And it's the one thing that we have to fight for every day. Like we said earlier in the video, marriage is being attacked every single second of every single minute of every single hour of every single day, till the day God calls you home. You're under attack because Satan hates marriage, because God designed it to have people come together and grow and love each other and raise beautiful, amazing children. And if you look at the world and what's happening right now, there's so much hate and so much violence, but yet God is taken out of everything. There's no God, there's no this, you can't pray, you can't do anything And so what is happening right now is exactly what it says the Bible says is going to happen. There's going to be chaos. People are going to turn against each other. It's only going to be about self and about pleasure and about, so guys, we have to do something different to expect to get different results, right?
And so if you're in that, question is how long should I stay in a bad marriage? If there's physical abuse, we always talk about, say this in these videos, if there's physical abuse, you need to get out. You need to stay safe. That's off the table. That's one of those things off the table that there's no gray area there. You need to be safe, and you need to get yourself and your children in a safe place. But if there's drug abuse or alcohol abuse or things like that, again, it's like there might have to be some tough love. You might have to say, you know what, I've got to take my kids away from this or myself out of the situation until it's a healthy place to be again. Those are things you need to get wise counsel from. You need to get professional help from to find out whether or not. But if you're just
everybody's situation is different.
Yeah, and if you're just in a marriage where like we just don't communicate, or we're isolated, or she don't want to have sex with me, or he stonewalls and he doesn't talk to me, y'all, those things can be worked out. Those things are not divorceable. Those are not
divorceable
grounds
offenses
for divorce. Those things can be worked out. We promise you have a 100% chance.
We've seen couples
married
who had infidelity, who have gone their separate ways and realize, you know what, let's give our marriage a chance. And they come and they put God back in the center and they start doing it the way God designed it. And they're amazing. They're teachers now. Their marriage is better than it's better than it ever was even before the infidelity happened. So God can restore anything.
And sometimes when you're about to go through, or you're going through something really hard, and it seems like the worst, you want to give up. It's the beauty is right on the other side of that pain. It's like if you could get through that, you'll just see
the
that
power is on the other side.
Yeah,
it's on the other side.
The freedom
guys.
is on the other side of the
So
pain.
fight for it.
Yeah,
fight for your marriage. Fight for something different. Fight for something if you've never had it. Fight for it because it's worth it.
Mm-hmm. So these are just some random questions that we heard at the marriage conference that we liked that stood out. If you guys have questions, you can put them in the comments below or send us a private message. We love doing just question and answer. Or if we could get on here and we knew for sure y'all would get on here and actually ask the questions, we would just do it live. But sometimes it's like crickets. And a lot of people watch the videos after the fact. But just send us some questions. Send us some topics that you want to talk about. We want to be relevant to what y'all are listening to. And we just thank y'all. So many people are watching the video, so it just blows us away, and we really appreciate that y'all doing that. So please like our page if you haven't already. Please share our videos so other people that can.
And if you're in the Houston or surrounding area, come to the Spark Conference this coming weekend
at Lakewood Church. You can go to Lakewood Church. .cc, I think. Go just Lakewood Church in Houston. You can't miss it. It's the Spark Conference. Richard and I are doing some comedy Saturday morning. Michael Jr. is going to do some comedy Friday night. And then intertwined in all that, we have amazing marriage speakers and tips and wisdom that's going to help you with your marriage.
So we look forward to seeing you guys there.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in. We love you and we're praying for you.
Peace.
We'll see you next weekend.
See ya.